screen. My mistake. Okay.
I've got it after I can show anybody that's got a question about
Okay.
it.
All right. Travis, you want to come on up, buddy?
First?
Yep. Got a fund transfer request, or were you guys going to wait on that?
We took that off the.
Yeah, we
We
took-
took that off.
Oh, that's
So,
quick.
I talked to Dwayne earlier, and, we were looking at taking it out of another fund, but I think we can wait till later in the year. We just wanted to make sure that money was there. So we had some items that, were on back order. We wanted to wait till they arrive so we could pay for them, and then if we had to move the money, then move it there, so.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Well, that was easy enough. All right. Second on the agenda, we have a parks request to transfer $3,967 from the Building and Structure Fund to the lifeguard and cashiers. I believe, did I send you guys all that information? And I don't believe Jan's here to explain that to us or anything else. Does anyone have any issues with the transfer of funds? Bo?
Basically, it was just a lifeguard fund. She ran over on her pay by not quite $4,000 over what was budgeted, so we've got to cover those pays for those lifeguards.
Okay. So everyone, are we all in favor of just moving that forward to the council meeting on the 11th? All right, we'll move that forward. Okay, we have auction proceeds. Each year, there is a city auction to sell off items that are no longer needed by their department. In the past, we have allowed each department head to designate where they would like the proceeds from items they have discarded in the sale to go. So I would like for the council to consider doing this once again this year. Police department brought in $946.68. Do you have any preference on that, Travis? Just put it in the lit fund then? Okay. Fire department, Rick, you got $4,861.36.
Yeah, I know.
Just the lit fund? Okay, thank you. Street department brought in $12,260.80, and it's currently placed in the MVH. Good with that? All right. Parks department brought in $10,937.57, currently placed in the Parks Fund. That okay, Kevin? And golf brought in $1,793, currently placed in the non-reverting golf fund. You okay with that, Kevin? I guess you're the lone spokesman.
But I believe so.
Okay. All right.
In the cemetery, Dave. The cemetery, 28,000, or
Where, did I miss it? I did. I missed Bob. Sorry, Bob. Cemetery, we had $28,148.53. It was currently placed in the general fund. Do you want to move that to your non-reverting fund so you can buy your UTV?
Yeah, that's good fun.
We can do that without advertising, correct? Dwayne, just move that money?
Yeah, or you could simply, well, either way, you're going to approve it to use for the UTV, so it's already in the general. So
My question would be, would we have to do advertise an additional appropriation if it goes to the general?
from the general to the non-reverting, yeah, because what we're pulling it out as an appropriation.
So which way is easier for you to,
It's fine either way. I can get it published, and we can
okay?
move it
All
forward.
right, we'll get it advertised for you, Bob, so you can get your UTV purchased.
Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you, Jake. Okay. RDC is wanting to create a discretionary fund. And they desire for us to appropriate a number for the redevelopment commission for that fund. So you want to explain that to them, Dwayne?
Yeah, the redevelopment is wanting to take their interest, pull their interest off of their accounts and be able to use that for a wider range of expenses than what they currently are able to use. So with their developments at Lexington and possibly out here at Chase Road and some of the other things coming up, they want to be able to use that money and not have to worry about it. So this would be non-tax money. It was money that was actually drawn off the bank accounts. But to do that, we have to establish a fund specifically for that. So, and then we would create a checking account for them, and then they would have discretion over the use of it.
You guys understand what, there's one of the simplest examples we can explain that. State Board of Accounts audits us every year, and the Redevelopment Commission has paid Dwayne to be the secretary and do a lot of their book work for, I don't know, 7, 8 years. Well, this was the year they decided that it wasn't legal for them to use taxpayers' dollars to pay Dwayne. So by creating a discretionary fund, the interest we earn off of the money that they have in the Redevelopment Commission could be put into that fund, and then they can legally pay Dwayne. And they can do other things out of that fund also. But that's just a simple example of why they need to create that fund. Is there any objections to moving that to council meeting?
Nope.
Okay. Also, we need to create a new fund for the EPA grant.
Right. We just, I think it's 400,000. Got it up here somewhere. Yeah, 400,000 that is going into to the new EPA grant that we've gotten, and we can't use the same account that we've used in the past, so we have to have a new account number and new fund number for that. So, and that's for Exide, is that right, Jacob?
That's just a community-wide assessment.
It's just for the brownfield, just brownfield in general. Okay. But we have to have a new account. State board won't let us use the same account for a new grant. So we have to establish a new grant fund.
Some more bookkeeping. Everybody okay with moving that on?
Yes.
All right, very good. All right. Next up is Pets R Us funding request. The board members want to come up for Pets R Us to the table.
And we really don't have a formal presentation. I'm Jim Lehman. I'm a board.
Well, they may have a question or two for you guys is all. I got some information here I can kind of.
And Gordon Newland, also board member.
Neither one of us are treasurer, just so you know.
Well, here, just so you know what we've been.
Okay?
This is what we were getting.
Yes, okay, thank you. Just the last 3 months.
Okay.
Okay. I guess, are you familiar with any of this?
Yes,
Come-
yes,
okay.
we see this report each.
Okay,
week.
all right.
You know, our understanding is that there has been some conversation between Dave Herman and maybe several of you, council members, to talk about the current situation and the future.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the original request came, I'm not sure when, well, July 20th, I guess Dwayne received this. So it's been here for a while. Was for $24,000. And I got to be honest with you, I told Dave when I did talk to him that that with everything that's gone on, that number's just, it's not a number I would consider. I'm not going to speak for the rest of them. They can all speak for themselves. But looking at the numbers that we had in front of us, I'll just share this with a few of you, and then anyone that wants to speak on this can chime in. It appears that the animal control, our animal control guy brought in 12 dogs and 15 cats in April, May, and June. It also appears that there were, or no, those numbers are wrong. Let me get this straight here. And there were 27 adoptions, it appears, during that same period of time. So these are animals that were recovered by the owner, correct?
I didn't hear the question.
I said, we also show that there were 27 animals adopted, or not, well, there were 27 adoptions, and there were 22 animals that were returned to the owner during that time. So quite a few of the animals that were evidently brought in and picked up were recovered by the owner. And you know, of course, the elephant in the room is going to be, I have no idea how many animals were refused during that period, and that's the big contentious piece in all of this. And I'm not trying to put you guys on the spot, but we've had a real rough go of it for the last few months, and I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. It's just the reality of the situation we've been dealing with. I hope that it's improved. I know that the agreement was made that no animals would be refused. And of course, as fate would have it, the very night that we agreed to all this, we had an animal refused because the change of communication hadn't traveled quickly enough. But I told Dave that what I would recommend, and I'm just going to put this out there, and we got board member or council members here that can decide for themselves where they want to go with this. I would approach them with a figure of $12,500 maximum. Because basically when we first set this up, the mindset was that we give you quarterly payments of up to $50,000 basically. Right. Now, I don't know if you guys have anything you want to say, but I know there's probably people here that would want to share and give you their opinion on this. But I just want you to.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair amount, Dave, thank you. And I know there has been a lot of friction. I'm a relatively new board member. I joined about a year ago. And, you know, as a person who grew up in Logansport, moved away for several years, came back to town, I've learned a lot in the past year about animal shelters and about funding and you know, governance. And so I think both Gordon and I can state that we're determined to make this work. You know, I know if we had that hiccup the very first days, sorry for that, but I think it's a situation where it's in the best interest of the community for us to work together, and I personally will do what I can to make that happen, and I believe recent board meetings would echo that sentiment. I'm happy to answer questions that I can. Again, I'm relatively new, but I am passionate about taking care of our animals, as I'm sure many of you guys have pets at home too.
I guess the question I have, other than that day after the meeting, have there been other occurrences where an animal wasn't accepted? Travis, do you know of any? Or
Sean, after that meeting that we had, have you had any issues? Actually, that night we had one, they refused an animal that evening.
yeah.
About 4 hours later.
We did. Yeah, she refused the animal that showed up at my house for visitors.
Well, but not from animal
She
control.
said, "Turn it down."
Yeah.
So there has been, I'd have to go pull the, or ask Brian what his numbers are for this month. I don't have them. And I thought part of what Dave said before I walked out, and I went to get numbers, and I heard you say you didn't have the right ones, and I wanted to grab them just in case. But the month of July alone, there was.
Travis, you can come up to the microphone, please.
So to answer your original question, yes, it has been. Obviously, there's a citizen here that's saying it as well. Just in the month of July alone, there were 16 refusals. And we went over this, and 2 bike cases on top of that. So, Dave, I didn't hear your April, May, and June numbers. I had stepped out to grab our numbers from the last meeting that we had back on that Thursday afternoon. So.
John, or Travis, in July, there were 16 refusals.
Yes, sir. So, if you don't mind, Dave, I can go over the numbers. I don't
No,
know.
go
We
right-
have something that we've
no,
had. So in
you go
April
right ahead.
In April, there was, it looks like they had, he took 3 dogs to the show and 1 cat, and then 1 civilian animal was brought in. They had no refusals that month. May, 9 total was taken in.
From animal control?
I got,
Because this is 6.
yeah, we got 6 on here.
But it's-
6 dogs,
Yeah,
3
these
cats.
aren't three.
6 dogs?
6 dogs, 3
Okay,
cats.
all right.
June, he had 4, and then had 4 refusals as well in the month of June.
See, we have 7 for June.
I have 4 dogs. And then he had 4 refusals
That
as well.
balances out.
Okay.
Were there any refusals in May?
That's been
For a period of time.
No. July, there was 16 refusals. And 1 came out of mistaken.
So I think that what Dave had offered is a very generous proposal. Like what I would kind of think is maybe we would take the amount that they were actually accepted from animal control and accept responsibility and pay for just that amount. They paid, animal control took in 17 animals over those 3 months. And originally they had said the cost was $300 an animal, and that would be $5,100.
100, yep.
If I may, Dave. Board members, I appreciate your guys' meeting with city officials and county officials, but we're hearing the same thing over and over again. And it's the board members support it, the board members support it, the board members support it, but your leadership is not. And that is the struggle. So until you get that done, I will veto any funding given to Pets R Us, because we are tired of going through this over and over and over again. So council, you can approve it, but it will be my first veto. And it probably won't be the last. I just want you to be aware.
Yeah, and, you know, I appreciate the good faith, and, you know, that you guys working together, but until, I mean, there's a track record of it, you know, it actually working. And I don't know if you guys need to get a written agreement or something to be looked at by our attorney, but, I mean, I'm tired of this occurrence, and, I mean, I love what you guys do. I mean, it's very important to have something like that in Logansport, but if we keep having this issue, I don't know why we keep funding you guys. I mean, I know why we fund you, but it's not I don't know.
Dave, there are a couple citizens who might want to speak.
All right, come on. One at a time. Together, if you are together, I guess.
I'm Amanda.
Gordon, if you and Jim have a seat, they can sit up there where the microphone is.
Here's one of the dogs that showed up at my house. The dog catcher was in my house for 2.5 hours. She refused that dog, and it was injured. I showed up the next day when the dog would leave my house and took the dog to the Humane Society because I couldn't let my dogs out because of that dog. The dog catcher was at my house from 10 o'clock until 1 a.m. trying to get you guys to take the dog. The dog was sick and injured. it couldn't even walk on its back leg. You guys have that dog in your care. Because I dropped it off to the Humane Society the next day when you guys wouldn't take it. You wouldn't take it from the dog catcher either.
I just asked when this was, I don't know about this
Hold on a
exact situation.
The dog catcher does know about it,
Okay.
because he talked to the lady that runs the dog catcher, or the Humane Society.
All right.
Go ahead and explain yours while I look up the guy that I talked to.
A while back, beginning of this year, probably March, something like that, we had called the Humane Society to see about getting some cats fixed. Because I have two of mine fixed through the Humane Society. And she informed me that you guys are no longer doing that.
I hear she, do we have a name?
Lisa.
Okay.
And she was very, very hateful and snotty with me. And I was just trying to ask questions. I wasn't mean to her. I was nice as I could possibly be, and she was just straight up hateful to me.
Well, I'm sorry for that.
August 10th.
August 10th.
August the 10th is when the dog showed up at my house. I talked to the guy that actually had the dog. He said it showed up at his house as a stray. He gave the dog away. Somehow it went from Burroughs to Logansport.
That's Travis. Right.
Well, we don't know for sure where the dog came from. It was in the care of the Humane Society on August the 11th. The paperwork is in my name because I'm the one that dropped the dog off.
Okay.
And when I called her, she told me she would get a hold of me. She had to talk to her board members to find out what she could do with the dog, which I'm assuming would be you
Well,
guys.
we don't make, day-to-day decisions on which animals we get.
Well, I don't know.
I know there's capacity.
But when I
there's-
can't,
There's a number.
when
of-
I can't let my dogs out because there's a stray dog at my house and I have a Chihuahua and a lab, at what time does it become somebody else's concern besides, I'm guessing, the dog catcher or the Humane Society?
I wish I had a better answer for you, but
We have a lot of stray animals running loose, and apparently they're, I guess, nobody's problem anymore. I adopted a dog from the Humane Society.
okay.
She was adopted one day before I adopted her. She was brought back as of no fault of her own, and then it turned around the next day, I went and adopted her, and I paid the adoption fee.
Okay. Do you still have that dog?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I still got
Well,
it.
I'm glad to hear that much. And this is in 2022?
Yeah, that was just last year.
Okay.
Here's another dog I adopted from your Humane Society.
Okay.
I still have her too.
Well, I'm glad of that.
I think we're getting a little bit off the.
Yeah, I guess what
I apologize, Jim.
that's okay, Dayton.
I think they both made their points at this point, and I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. That wasn't the intent of this meeting. We appreciate that you guys have come up with your opposition. And no one knows better than us, Travis. We all know that there's a problem here. There's no question about that. So,
We got stray animals everywhere, and they're just nobody's problem, I guess.
we're trying to take care of it, man.
We get that.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
All right.
What's the possibility of doing the surrounding counties do, run specials?
But the Humane Society can run specials like.
For
Coconut
adoption
does.
specials?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
we do that.
They do things constantly as far as getting rid of animals goes, but that's, we're getting way off the topic here. And we got a lot of business to get through, and I apologize to you guys.
I'm glad your adoption is going well, though. I think we started the conversation with, I thought we had kind of reached a hopefully a positive direction recently. And I know we had capacity issues, we weren't taking animals, we could have had conflict. And I understand, Mayor, that, it's a broken record to you. But I still think we find a way to make something work together.
Travis, now, did you say there had been dogs, other than the one the very evening we made had the conversation?
It's animal control. He said he believes there's been 4 so far this month already.
But were they before or after our meeting?
I'm sorry, Dave.
Were they before or after our meeting?
I was trying to think what date our meeting was on. I can't remember the actual date. I tried to look it up. And I think it'd have to be afterwards. Because I asked him how many this month. He said he believed approximately 4. without having this computer in front of him. That's been refused.
And I think you had a meeting at the shelter.
I think our meeting was August
We had a
10th.
meeting at the shelter, we left that meeting, and
Okay.
then.
No, this,
This was one we just had here.
August 10th.
August the 10th.
yes.
Okay.
so there's a good chance, you know, I'm not gonna debate which way. Here, how
Oh, so
about
that
a-
might have been the same day. She said August 10th as well.
Yeah,
She could have been, I don't.
That could have been the
I don't
one that
have
was-
my
right.
computer in front of me to look at it, so he said 4, so.
well, let's look at this from a, you know, and you know, Travis, I've drug this thing out forever, and I apologize to anyone that disagrees with that, but in my mind, I've always believed that this is the best solution, but how are we gonna get there? And I would like to entertain the idea of at least considering Haley's proposal of 5,000, anything, and with the understanding that we'll vote on this officially on September 11th. That gives you guys till September 11th to show us you're still committed to this process, and on September 11th, we could decide whether or not, you know, you've done what you said you could do. Anyone have any thoughts on this?
I agree with Jake. It's been a long process. Probably the number one complaint I get is about this issue. And frankly, I'm tired of it. I think, I get what you're saying, Dave. I'd rather see how they do for the rest of the year before I consider giving them a cent. So at this point, I won't vote for anything.
Larry, you got anything you want to share on this?
I'm on the being no as well.
I have a question for you. During the Parvo incident, you had to sanitize everything, and there was a major cleanup you had to close. Were some of those refusals during that time?
Some more, yes.
Okay. Is there any way that, and I brought this up in the last meeting, of kennel elsewhere, someone suggested outside kennels or something that would be away from the situation that was inside. Would that be possible?
We have the ability for the animals to go outside, but we also have had some construction and some remodeling issues that have frankly, hurt our capacity. And we've had a contractor in that didn't do the job, and, it's not anything you predict or that you plan. It's just, in some cases, bad luck. And so I think that's an option on the table, but we have not planned for separate orders.
Okay. We need to do something.
We try to separate within the facility, but
I understand. When you have a sickness, you have to quarantine everything and scrub everything down, sanitize. Okay. I have no problem with voting that 5,000 forward, but we're going to meet also before the next council meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have
Okay. Planning on a meeting perhaps. Okay, we can discuss more on that. Lisa Terry could be a little nicer to the public. Her name's come up time and time again as rude, mean, bad-spirited, name-calling. That's not very professional for a Pets R Us Humane Society establishment. That's one thing I would suggest.
so noted.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to say that,
Come up, please.
I am.
Come up to the microphone, please.
I would like to say that I constantly get phone calls in the mayor's office that these people are calling and trying to get help with these dogs, and Lisa Terry tells them, just call the mayor's office, we don't have room for them. And then I got accused a week ago that I told this lady that was just right here to just go drop the dog off at the property. I did not tell that lady that, but that was brought to the chief and the sheriff's department, that I told that lady to just go drop that dog off at the parking lot, and I did not. So,
At the parking lot of the shelter?
of the Humane Society, yes.
There's emails back and forth.
Yes.
With the sheriff, you guys are more welcome to
Yeah.
ask him.
I'm not doubting.
So I get those calls often.
And I know with county and city, difference, there's obviously some.
Jake, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, obviously, capacity, I think, is the real killer, and I don't know how the agreement got worked. I wasn't part of that conversation on the 10th about how we could not have refusals. If that's the case, then we've solved all of the problems going forward with the Humane Society. I don't know how that is going to.
Well, that was the commitment that they made to us, and you were board members that voted to do that.
Right, we did, that was.
And that was,
and it was
they went,
overwhelming.
we met on the 10th, and I think they communicated either that night or the next day with you guys about that. I don't know how things have gone. I haven't been in communication with everybody to check on them. But usually when I don't hear a whole lot, that means maybe we're moving in the right direction. You know, like I said, this is a true battle, but I think sometimes, you know, the character of the community comes out when you put all the differences away and say, yeah, you know, you have family squabbles, you get over. This is the same kind of a situation on a little bit larger scale. But I truly believe that if we're going to be a community that succeeds, if we can't handle animal control, there's a problem.
And I only bring that up because if capacity is still going to be an issue, our hands are tied a little bit on our end with Brian. If there's a refusal, we have absolutely nothing we can do about it because we don't have the budget for it. You guys have, you know, the animal shelter budget within your purview, which is why these requests come to you guys. So I think in opening up the ability for Brian or whoever, if it comes to pass that they refuse an animal, that we have something to do with it. So having some of that funding available if we need it. If we don't need it and they're going to not refuse animals anymore, from the conversation we had at the Humane Society when we had that previous meeting, it seemed that there was a big sticking point on, you know, they're a no-kill shelter, and so if they don't have space, they're not going to have space. And that was kind of a hard, you know, bump in the road that we were coming to. If that's something that's gotten figured out, then I don't know how we can't come to some kind of arrangement. But
I guess for me,
we need to open up
how they
the
fixed
ability.
it.
Well,
Because we come to a meeting on a Thursday, and Friday morning, we've solved the world's problems for it.
I didn't say we.
No, not us. I'm saying from their standpoint. And then Monday, there's a 4-page news release put out bashing, I felt, bashing everything that was going on. I want to know from them, how was the problem rectified that now Brian can take 100% of his dogs or cats to the shelter and we're not going to get any refusals? We know they haven't added on in the last 16 days. We've already given them $10,000 for new kennels that they installed, and when I was there was construction equipment in one of those kennels. I guess I need to know.
And I think Jim addressed that. They're having issues with the guy that was supposed to get that work done. I don't know how that's played out.
No, and I guess.
And you're right, Travis.
How do we fix it? Because, again, Dave, I told you this, where the money comes from is not my concern. My concern is the public safety. And we've had an 85-year-old man get bit on a dog refusal. He was bit in the arm. And obviously, we've had citizen concerns. We, including the secretary, catches the blunt end of this day in and day out. Yeah. So again, my concern has always been for Haley said this in the meeting is the office or the animal controls the job duties and the citizens. Yeah. I guess that's all I'm asking for is how did they fix the problem, because we still haven't heard that yet.
Well, I guess, you know, it's like the nuts and bolts of anything. I don't have the answer to your question no more than they have the questions. How did we fix how do we fix things down here? You know, we don't explain but policy was part of the issue. You know, and when that letter came, frustrated as anybody. And there, you know, when you write a letter, you only write it from your perspective. They forgot to leave out all of the things that we struggled with at the same time, and that were hurdles that they created for us. You know, you wake up one day and you say, well, we're a no-kill shelter now. We're not going to take animals once we reach a certain number. Well, and then you turn around and you say, hey, I want some money. It doesn't make any sense. You know, you have to meet us in the middle here. And how they got to the point that they are, well, number one, survival is probably part of it. Let's be honest. Without funds, they can't survive. So their attorney was part of that group that we met with. And he was one of the ones that said, we can do this. And I trusted the ones that were at the meeting to hold up their end of the bargain. You know, and yeah, we didn't even make it through the night without a rock.
He was just, he's an attorney. He's not their attorney. He's just an attorney on
He's a board member as well.
Right, he's an
well-
attorney. I don't think
He-
he's a board.
he-
My question
He's
was for
our
them, not you.
in-house legal counsel.
I guess I was just speaking towards the board, sorry. My main question, I guess, was for these gentlemen, not to put them on the spot, but, you know, they came to us and said, hey, we're gonna take 100% of these animals. I guess, tell us how you're gonna do that, so I can tell Brian. Brian has to send a text message every time he picks up an animal. Is there room?
Well, you know what,
So,
you know,
I guess my question is for you guys, how is that fixed?
Well, part of the understanding that I had, just as the board member, not involved with all the meetings that you guys have had and everything, that we were going to be able to assure the city that we would have open kennels for them. And that in order to do that, I know, at least we've been told, that we've been doubling dogs up into where if a couple dogs could get along, we've put them in the same kennel. I've been under the impression all this time since that meeting that we've been trying to keep kennels available. The refusals, I know about when we had the disease and that we had to close the place for 10, 11 days. I don't know what it was exactly. But that was my understanding, is that we did agree that we will keep kennels available for you guys so that you can get in. The separate building that comes up is a question, again, I for one, just as a board member, I have no idea where in the world we're going to get the funds to build something like that. We're struggling right now to stay afloat. Our monthly budget runs in the red every month. And so where we could do anything like that would be great if we could, but we don't have any funds to do that, in my opinion.
But I agree with what Gordon said, is we are dedicating space that we weren't able to do or weren't willing to do before.
I think one of the issues that I've heard some discussion about is that if it comes down to putting a healthy dog that's adoptable, euthanizing that animal in order to make space to put a stray dog doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of our board members. So that becomes a questionable area right there. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, this whole kill shelter thing has came up several times. I can tell you from my standpoint, we've never spoke about that. What you guys do and how you operate your day-to-day business has nothing to do with me. Or the assistant chief, or Brian for that matter, was we just wanted to put dogs in there that were out running loose, that's been fine, or that has been aggressive.
And should be able to.
Period, right? What you guys do with them is now all up to you and how
Yeah.
that works. Once the dog is behind that door, but we're not even getting to that point. So that was my concern. How you guys operate, just like I told the council, how you guys pay them, that's up to them. My concern is Brian doing his job, and then the citizens getting those dogs or animals taken care of and getting out there. That's where it lays out for me, is the safety of the citizens. And when they're been refused over and over and over again, it ties his hands, and we don't want to get into a situation where, schools there's a lot of kids riding school buses now. One school is all school bus. It's a non-walk. So you have a lot of kids gathering at bus stops. So those are my concerns as far as a safety standpoint. And we have dogs running loose, what do we do? The officer's not just going to go out and shoot a dog. So we want, we ran into, the county ran into that. So we want to make sure that it's feasible for us to handle that. How you guys operate your day-to-day operations is, that's not my lane. So
I think I speak for a lot of the board members that are under the same impression I am, that we've agreed and we're going to keep kennels available for you guys to put dogs in there. Now, if that's not happening, then I guess we need to know that.
And I can get you the numbers tomorrow afternoon, what they refuse to close at least.
And Travis, one of the things I would say, and I'm just going to tell you because this is what I was told, is that Brian doesn't have to call ahead. If he's got an animal, he just takes it out there. He doesn't need to call ahead anymore. That's what I've been told. Now, I don't know if that's
Does Brian
correct.
still need to call ahead?
I believe Mr. Herman relayed to Brian on the 11th that he would no longer need to call every day to
Yeah.
for the
So part of that.
He just assumes that there's gonna be a space when he gets out there. He doesn't need to call every morning or anything else. And Travis, I would be curious to see if anything's been denied since that first little mishap the same night. Because I was under the impression there hadn't been any, but I'm not gonna say I know that. You know, like I said, I'm the ultimate guy for always giving somebody a chance, and I think we should at least consider taking this to council on the 11th of September, seeing if they can continue to fulfill their obligations, and setting some kind of number that night as compensation for the Humane Society, because, you know, I just think it's the best solution. And you know, I looked at all the pictures from last week at Von Licks, and it looks like a phenomenal place over there. But it just, in my mind, it's not the solution for the community. And I just know that if we persevere, we're going to figure this thing out. They've made the commitment. Let's see if they can stick with it. It took a long time for them to make that commitment. But I'm only
We're here to try to reinforce that it's our turn to, we need to prove it.
And I thank you guys for coming. I know
Thank
this,
you.
you got thrown into the fire.
No, but I don't feel like it was fire. I really think that we all would agree that there's a solution at hand. We just need to make it happen.
How closely do you work with the staff there at the?
As a board member, I don't work closely. I go in occasionally and I chat it up a little bit. But I had worked at Purdue University. I had a board of directors, and typically board of directors are not involved in day-to-day operations. They're more strategic and finance, governance. That's a board's role and support.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to do. But we need to be aware as well when things go south.
Yes.
And of course, we're all aware.
Instead of hearing that second and third string.
Second, third hand.
Who does your director report to?
Who does our director report? She does report to the board of directors.
Okay.
Yes.
So any problem she has, she lets you guys know?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Communication is very important for any problem solving.
That's my point.
It's a two-way street. And
Yes.
I guess if we can establish that opportunity where we can have feedback on an ongoing basis, I think that might help us,
Yes.
resolve some of our problems.
End result, the animals suffer.
Well, that's what I think we're
like that.
all about, is let's take care of the animals.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Yes, we appreciate the forum and your consideration.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank
George.
you.
Thank you.
Here's where we're at, guys. It seemed like 3 and 3 here. Is anyone want to read?
I'm okay with deciding, see how it goes until the council meeting, and then we make a decision based on how it's been sent, up until that point. I'm fine with that.
I'm good. I don't want to give up trying.
All right, we'll move it forward. We'll present a resolution. It'll have a blank space in it, and we'll go from there. And I think that's all we have other than the budget. Anything else that I've forgotten, Dwayne? All right. Okay. Well, we'll start out with the easy stuff, and I don't think we're going to need much time for this first couple. Dwayne, you have anything that you want to say that you didn't say already about the clerk treasurer's budget?
No, I think, like I said, mine's pretty straightforward. The only addition I had was for the possibility of part-time help for part of the week.
All right.
Other than that, mine's pretty much the same as what it has been and continues to be.
Any questions for Dwayne?
Nope.
All right, Mayor, any comments on your budget? I talked to Erin on the phone. She said hers was fine the way it was. So we're to MVH. Come on up, Jenny.
So I guess one thing I'd like to bring up, this is, I'm finishing my 8th year as street commissioner. We have a 16-man crew. I've replaced 9 people. We're having the same problem every department in the city has. I've lost, of those 9, 4 of them went to greener pastures. 2 of those 4 are people that we trained to get their CDL. So we're not doing that anymore. We'll hire only CDL drivers. That's getting harder to do because now it costs between $4,000 and $8,000 to get a CDL. So, which, you know, that's great. There's a truck driver shortage, so they made it more difficult to get your license. The county highways top pays probably, well, not probably, it's $3 an hour more than ours. The state highway starts you at our top pay. You know, the scary thing would be if we lose 4 or 5 more guys and we have 4 or 5 new snowplow operators next winter. You know, it's one thing on a county road, it's a whole other thing in the city going in and out of parked cars.
Tony, how much more did you say the county pays than?
Their top pay is a little over $3 an hour more than ours. We start about the same. And then our.
You start at the same and.
Yeah, we start usually, I mean, if they have a CDL, well, they have to now, but we'll probably start them at 19. Our top pay is 21. State highway hires people in at 21.
So can you, since you seem to know quite a bit about it, do you know, like, if I started there tomorrow, how long would it take me to get to top pay?
I mean, we kind of do it on merit. You know?
No, I mean, it's county.
Oh, at the county? I don't know that, no.
I'm just curious, okay.
Although I talked to Jeff Smith today, I think his top pay guys, I think he said had 8 to 10 years in.
To get there?
Before they got up to, their top pay is 24 something an hour.
Do I have any questions for Tony? Have you looked, oh, I walked away with the budget. It's supposed to be down there for you to look at, Tony.
I got it on my phone.
Slide back to the find MDH,
Oh, yeah.
but it's in there somewhere. I'll let you
Okay.
just
Sure.
look through it. If you have any questions or. We're going to send this out to you. You'll have more time to look it over before we finalize it. We took your pickup truck and your leaf vac, and we moved them over to the non-reverting host fund. So we're going to buy them through that fund. So we didn't take them out of your budget, we just shifted them to somewhere else.
Sure. I mean, we have, you know, we raised a few things. We raised traffic, but like we did a lot more painting this year. We got it done. We had great weather for it. And we're going to be transferring money because traffic budgets, we spent it all this year. But again, you know, paint's not cheap.
Okay. All right. Anybody? Anything else, Tony?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, and just so you know, all your department, your entire department, everyone was, in this proposal that we're looking at, we raised everybody's salary $2,500.
Okay.
So,
Good. Okay.
Thanks. Thanks, Tony.
Yep.
Kevin, Dean, you're up.
I think they've changed maybe.
I'll say I'll go ahead and handle parks and the swimming pool, and of course I'll
Yeah.
do golf.
Okay.
because they've changed things, but I don't really know.
So I'll start by saying pretty much the same thing Tony did is, you know, again, with the parks, we're severely understaffed and, you know, we've went through a lot of retirements and summer help leaving. So, you know, that's always a big problem for us this time of year when everybody kind of leaves. In the next couple of years, I'll probably have another 3 out of my 5 employees retiring in the next year to 2. So it's going to be quite a big turnaround in that area. So I know we didn't really ask for anything there, but I just want to make it known that, you know, just like everybody kind of else, we're struggling with getting people in the door and keeping them there.
The same thing we told Tony, all your employees got $2,500.
Sure.
So,
One of the things I'll just kind of elaborate on that is, you know, I have 2 guys retiring between, you know, this week and the end of the year. They've had a job opening for a mechanic. I haven't even posted ours yet because for what they're paying, they've gotten 0 applicants. Bob's had a job opening up at the cemetery for general maintenance, I believe. You can ask him more about it, but for basically what I pay by one guy that will be left now, and you know, he's gotten 0 applicants. So I'm going into next year a little worried, you know, just the overall getting employees, you know. So it's a scary time for all of us. Things are a little bit at a, I don't mean, Dave has talked about it in the meeting. It's especially the golf course. We're just kind of at a crossroad with these retirements and stuff and everything. So, but that's, we all sound like a broken record, I guess. But you know, we're all in the same boat, you know.
Yep.
Anything else on the golf course? I mean, or the parks? Which one you got up there?
You got parks up there. I know we went through this pretty thoroughly, Kevin,
Yeah, we did.
the other day.
I didn't know if you had any more questions on it.
Just a couple of things that I wanted to make sure you were aware of. If you look in there where it says security cameras for you guys.
Sure. Yeah.
We moved those into the community cum cap fund.
Sure.
There's funding in there for those security cameras. It's just not in the general fund budget. So it didn't get eliminated, it just got moved.
Okay.
And we took and I think I may have told you this when we were there with Jan, I can't remember. Spencer Park Lower Pavilion, because of the unknown there, we moved that into the CETA fund for the time being.
Correct. Yep.
And then we raised up your small shelter replacements to 120, so you could do them all there.
Get them all done in one. Yep.
Now, I can't remember, playground equipment, was that from Mulehausen?
That would be for Mulehausen, yes.
Okay, and then the sports court improvement is for Bishop Park?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we wanted to know we wanted to know what heavy equipment attachment was.
Oh, yeah. We just curious what you were buying, heavy equipment attachment.
Heavy equipment attachment would be, since we have a fund for mowers and small machinery like that, that would be a skid steer attachment or a backhoe attachment, be it a bucket or a set of forks or a grapple, anything like that. We're kind of eliminating the skid steer attachment, kind of just making it a heavy equipment so we can kind of get either one.
So, and that's the one you just purchased then?
Yes, the skid steer is just a couple months old.
Yeah.
It finally came in this year, so fantastic tool. The only other thing I really have on here I want to point out is the Riverside lighting. We had asked for $3,000 in that, and I was able to redo the lights there pretty much just out of our budget right now. So about 80% of the lights are working again.
Wow.
And I'm going to be moving some of the old lights back into position. So by the end of the year, we'll have full lighting around the park at pretty much about $120 per pole instead of a couple thousand per pole. So that's been huge for us. So that's really not really needed. And then the the other big one for us is going to be our Christmas in the Park. You know, it's been kind of a tradition in the community. It's kind of set its way in, but as time goes on, we're seeing a lot less donations coming in. They love going to it, and we see the numbers. We have a car counter out there, and I'll be happy to give the numbers. We have a very good input, and everybody loves it, but the financial backing behind it just isn't there. The people aren't really donating the way it was. So as it stands, our donations cover operational costs. It covers everything that we need to do. The budget here, what we're asking for would be to start growing it and start getting, you know, utilizing more of it, because, you know, as time goes on, sponsorships just are coming down. So
Lost money in the last few years with Christmas in the Park?
we have just barely skimmed, broken pretty much even. There's very little money going into the next year, a couple thousand for startup fees. So it's really tight because we do contract a service to come in to wrap the trees for us. That's the one thing that they do contract out. Everything else is done in-house. And that fee is just covered with last year's operational costs. I mean, it's just minimal. So as you've seen the last couple of years, nothing's really changed. Nothing's new, just because we can maintain, but we can't grow. So, yeah.
So you have broke even?
Yes.
When, just last year, 2 years, what?
Last 2 years we have, there's no extra money, but we've broken even. We've stayed flat even.
So Kevin, just so I'm clear now, so you don't need this 3,000 for the lighting supplies?
No, I think this year that is one of the things we're just not going to need. With everything light, with it being lit now, we're in good shape. That's not to say down, you know, our 5-year master plan, when things start changing down there, that won't come about to be asked again. But right now, it's taken care of.
Okay, thank you. And that's awesome. You got all those fixed. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Could you guys, I mean, I'm just curious, you know, like Dean's talked to me about, I know you guys are having trouble, Bob's having trouble. So what kind of a realistic salary you think it'd take for like your mechanic?
You know, that's something that's really hard to, what are you starting at, what, 18, something?
Our mechanic's not even in that. Our top pay for ours, we don't even have a mechanic's budget. Our top pay is $16.80. Yeah. So anybody that gets hired on is it.
The advertisement says 18 or something now.
Yeah, I think that was trying to get bumped
up.
Get it bumped because we actually don't have a mechanic's.
Yeah. So pay. I mean, it's really for us. I mean, 3-4 years ago, we were paying our summer kids $8 an hour, you know, and now we're starting them at 11, 12. I mean, I think even $13 an hour, just because you can't get. I mean, it's changing so fast, you know. I mean, did I see this 2 years ago? Absolutely not, you know. But with inflation and, you know, what these restaurants and fast food places are paying, it's changed completely how things are done. I mean, Bob, I think, is offering $17 an hour to start now and getting no bites. I mean, my one employee that isn't retiring, you know, that's basically what he gets paid, you know. So it's like, you know, if he would leave, I mean, I would, you know.
Right.
What happens at that point, you know, because obviously there isn't people biting at the 17 an hour for a full-time position.
How are you reaching the public?
That's how the Parks Department.
So right now we're just doing, of course, the memo that we put out, but we also went to all the local, like Napa, Advanced Auto, and put flyers up there, you know, for a mechanic kind of in that position. Right now, what we actually did, we got with the high school, the co-op program, and we got a senior at a high school who's actually fantastic with vehicles. This is going to be his profession moving on forward. So we were able to get a co-op student who comes in 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, and does all of our equipment. And he's been with us for a little over a week now, and is just absolutely fantastic. We kind of lucked into that one. I don't know if that is going to continue. I don't know what his plans are for the future. You know, I know he is going into the automotive career, but as of right now, he's a part-time student or a part-time employee. We are paying him $12 an hour to do the job, but
He's a high school student.
But he is a high school student, so he's getting credits for coming over and working. Plus, he's getting a paycheck for doing the work. So we're kind of lucked out on that situation right now. But again,
The old way of
once he
advertising in
graduates,
the newspaper doesn't really,
Yeah.
you know, cut it. So it's,
but other than him, we've had no bites. Even with putting our application out there on, you know, at Napa or at Advanced Auto or AutoZone, we haven't had anybody really looking at it because, you know, a mechanic's pay is going to be well into the 20s, if not even close to 30, for a trained mechanic. So it's just.
I think we're all just kind of looking for someone to even just change oil that can fix a few things and stuff like that.
General knowledge.
General knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, backyard mechanic that, you know, kind of what we've always had, I guess you could say. But we're replacing long tenured employees too.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like they, you know, got 20 years in. I mean, George has 40, Tim has 40, you know, they both have
46.
40, yeah, they both have 40 plus years in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to get someone 20 years old to commit to that anymore, you know, early 20s, you know. I talked to someone this past week that actually went to mechanic school and he's working someplace, and I was trying to, you know, he's my kid's age, so he's 21, you know, but he's, you know, looking at bigger, better things, probably, you know, going to automotive industry and stuff like that you get with places like that. So anyway, it's a tough fit right now.
Okay. All right. Dean, you looked through yours, you got it.
Yeah, I was looking at it. Nothing jumped out.
Well, I guess, are you finished, or Kevin, you have anything else?
I'll say if you want to touch anything with the pool, everything looks about the same. I know you did
Pretty
the
much
transfer
the
there.
same, yeah.
The only other thing I want to do for the pool is again, there's no asking here at this time, but I do want to put just kind of a bug in your ear that, you know, the bathhouse situation of the pool, when the facility was renovated years ago, 7 years now, the bathhouse was not touched, and we're having serious problems with the plumbing in there. That is original plumbing from the early 50s, 1954. So we are having some very serious issues. Again, nothing that's on the docket as of today. We're going to, you know, say, hey, this is what we need. But it's just something, you know, going into the future, it's going to be a conversation we're going to need to kind of look at having, because it's in very, very, it's in a poor state, very poor. But other than that, the pool is pretty much exactly the same.
Kevin.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anything about the golf course or budget itself? I know we moved some money out of it. All the lines look pretty.
Pretty much, I mean, everything pretty
Yeah,
much the
I mean-
same, Dean, other than like I was telling you, we moved a couple things.
I mean, I'm good with.
Questions for Dean, or?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your guys. No, it's a tough gig right now to figure all that stuff out. We appreciate it, though. Thank you.
Rob back here. Community development.
Hello.
Hi, Rob.
How we doing? I think the only thing that we really didn't discuss was the unsafe.
Pardon?
The other day, the unsafe fund. What is, did you zero that out, or are we depositing? What are we getting on the in the unsafe?
The unsafe fund, we basically, because of the lack of funds in there right now, we basically have it budgeted the same way at $10,000 for miscellaneous repair, secure unsafe structures, miscellaneous expense, and mowing expenses. You know, we really do need to look at it.
Yeah, because
So what do you want to tell us about it?
I think we need to move it up to at least 20 a year. I mean, because I can't even tear down a house for 10. So, I mean,
okay.
And that is a good tool. That'd be a start.
Okay. You guys know where he's talking about back here in the back, the unsafe building fund. It's a
Page 29.
Page 20. Okay, page 29.
Down at the very bottom.
It's a non-reverting fund. It garners very little revenue. I'm not sure what goes in there.
It really doesn't get a revenue. I mean,
it's from liens and
small,
stuff, isn't it, on
small amount. If
certain things.
But it is a line item that, by law, if we're practicing the unsafe in this city, it is by law that we do have that fund.
Asking to move the unsafe structures line item from 10 to 20,000. And that way, 7. Okay. Anybody have any questions about that?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's another fund. We really need to, that's a Band-Aid, all that is, Rob. But
yeah, I agree.
Any questions on your, make sure I didn't make any mistakes there on it after we went. You have to find the right page. I'm not sure what page it is for you. I've got it on page 10. I don't know if that's.
Community development, 10.
What's that?
10, community development.
Yeah.
Page 10.
Office supplies.
Is that supposed to be 25 or 35?
Never mind. We're good.
Okay.
I was reading the wrong line.
Oh, okay.
Office equipment, the line I was reading.
Oh, okay.
That's not what we talked about. Okay, yep.
Dave?
I believe so.
All right, perfect. Anybody got any questions for Rob?
Nope.
No.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Bob, you're up.
Good evening.
Hi, Bob. All right, Bob, we went through yours pretty good. You've got it there. Do you have any questions about yours? I don't have the number right here in front of me, but what's the top pay for the position you're looking for?
A little over, right now it's a little over $20, like 2015 or 2030, somewhere in there, just a little over 20 each.
It's just basic, what, groundskeeping and? or-
Yeah, actually, it defines heavy equipment, truck driving, maintenance, mechanical.
How long you been trying to fill that spot?
Probably 5 weeks.
You got your budget there. You have any concerns with it, or?
I don't have, as it is, I don't have any big ticket items, what you would call big ticket items this
Right.
year, except for utilities, mowers, and gasoline,
Okay.
so. You pretty much know now where we're at with wages, so.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Bob? Bob, same thing holds true. We gave your department 2,500 across the board, so.
Okay,
Or that's what we're looking at, I should say.
okay.
All right. Guess we're all set. Nobody has any questions for you?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody want to take a break before we do public safety?
Which public safety goes first, I guess, that's a better question. They need a break, so.
All right, you're up, Rick.
Okay. As we're all aware, I did submit a proposal for our budget, and I put it in each one of your mailboxes, so I hope you had an opportunity to look at it. But again, like many have said, and our fear is losing guys in what we have lost. And the one thing I will say about our department is since 2020, 9 of our guys have left. Now, sure, some of them's been through retirement. With that being said, that's a third or over a quarter of our department, and that's just experience. The one thing that people don't realize is for us to hire someone, they won't even get an interview unless they've got their fire 1 and 2 certification. It's a 6 to 8 month class that they have to take just to get an interview. We don't have the ability to hire someone, send them to an academy, because when we need them, we need them. We've got a 34-man department. We've got 11 guys on a shift. And, well, I take that back. I've got one guy on as my inspector. That he works an 8-hour shift. So I've got 2 shifts of 11 and a shift of 10 when I'm at fully staffed. So you throw in some time, it's tough. It's tough for me to staff our station safely. And that's just getting a guy in there that's got the basic knowledge that the state says to set on a fire truck. So, you know, what I go back to looking at is a competitive wage. And I had one firefighter last year leave the fire department, went to the EMS side. He's working as a medic there, making more money than me as fire chief. I've got one that went to Kokomo and starts off there at $7,000 more a year than what he could make topped out with us. My real fear, and I heard this straight from the fire chief, I've got 6 guys that's applied at another department 30 minutes away, and they're hiring 10 next year. Sure, I don't fear guys with 10, 15, 20 years leaving. They're vested. They're not going to leave. But when I've lost 9 and I've replaced 9 in the last 4 years, to be quite honest, they're looking at wages. They're chasing a dollar. And that's what I'm competing with. I put a proposal together. I think it's a fair proposal for my wages at 7%, and then doubling the longevity. Doubling the longevity. The way I look at that, it gets us, moves our certified pension base up to where it's up there competing, but it's not costing the city the full amount right at first, because you're not giving a 14% raise. So a 7% raise, you know, roughly $3,500, and then doubling our longevity to $300 gives us a raise of around $7,000 on our certified salary. Puts us up around 62 and some change for a firefighter. That gets us up there, but I also understand them other departments are going to be given raises too. So the one challenge we have is getting to a point to where we can compete with a competitive wage, but then keeping it. Because, and of no fault of anybody in this room, but over the years, the little 1% raise or the 2% raise, that's why we're in the position we're in. I've been on 25 years. I can remember one administration, no raises for a couple years, 1% here, maybe a 2%. The last, that's not going to get us. And then you throw in the fact of, which everybody's faced it, everybody in the city with the insurance, rise in insurance and all that. So that's my speech on my wages. As far as anything else goes on my budget, I'm happy with when we sat down. And the one thing I did take into account and I looked over is, because I understand there's only so much in a pot. I completely understand that. I really try to watch my budget. I try to return, I think over the past 3 years, right around $250,000 have went back into the general fund that I've not spent out of my budget. And I would say I've probably only increased my budget maybe 5 to 6% total. And to be quite honest, my big increases this year in my budget, utilities, telephone, internet, that's the biggest portion. So I'm trying to do everything I can on my end to help, but we do have to, I feel, investing in our people. We can have all the nice equipment, and you guys have treated us great with equipment. We have, and I really appreciate that, but we need quality guys, firefighters, to operate it, and that's my fear. So as far as my operating budget goes, I made a couple notes, and it's just really, we did talk about, I know I've talked with Dwayne a little bit, the money for the Lexipol, we talked about moving that into maintenance contracts because I had mistakenly left it under Lexipol, which is capital improvement, and it needed to go into the maintenance. I did add a line item for some weight room equipment, and I wanted to see about adding a 42 number so I could purchase parts for repairs, which I know we had that at one time and then somehow it got left off, but
Is it right?
it was, part repairs, I wrote it down here. Because the problem we run into is if we repair a chainsaw, for instance, and we do the work, I can't pay it out of I gotta pay it out of a supply, not necessarily, and it's a repair item. So I just wanted to have a 42 number so I could utilize that. And I believe, I haven't looked through here, but I know we talked about it, so I'm sure I got put in, but. You recall that, Dwayne?
I'm trying to think if we put one in there or not.
Basically, all I was doing was moving.
Equipment supplies.
Equipment supply line item in here that's empty.
What was it, Rick?
But
What
I
do you
don't-
think it's called? Was it?
They've got a general supplies in there, Rick, for, I may have stuck it on top of that. There's 14.5 in the general supplies, which is the last item on the 429
Oh, yeah.
line.
General supplies.
Yeah, it just seems like when I've tried to turn claims in to pay for like, I don't know, parts for equipment, and I've tried to pay for it out of equipment repairs, I've always been told I gotta pay for it out of.
Right, when you're buying the parts for themselves.
Yeah. So I just wanted to.
Even with your fire trucks, if you're replacing, say, a pump valve.
Yeah, right.
You gotta take it out of a.
Yeah, and what I run into is because I take it out of general supplies, well, then that's leaving me to like supplies for the station I'm running low on, but.
Blanket, it doesn't designate fire or police, says this 423023 on there, Rick, is that on
Equipment
yours?
supplies?
Yeah, well, I have a 0 there, would that be the line item you're looking for?
That may be the one that we.
Used to use?
Utilized in the past.
What were you wanting to put in there?
3,000. And I mean, to be honest, we could take it out of, I'd be willing to take that out of, like equipment repairs.
Just shift it?
Yeah, just take like, the equipment repairs is 436,022. If we took 3,000 out of that, put it into that line item.
Okay. So that'll be 29 then?
Yes.
You wanna take 3,000 out of that, Rick, you're saying?
Yeah, 3,000 out of equipment repairs.
329 and then make the other one 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Fire here, so we know.
So, renaming the water rescue line item to technical rescue. That was another one we discussed, which we've got water rescue, which is 429 and 018. And just rewording that to tech rescue.
Yeah, it's in there as water rescue fire.
Correct. But can we reword that to tech rescue fire? So then if I want to buy.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, water rescue keeps it very narrow and I want to open it up more.
Water rescue or TAC.
Yeah, tech, TECH.
Okay.
All right, well, in the budget you're looking in, Rick, we basically put in what you requested at this time.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, one of the things that came up, Rick, and Larry might be able to help us on this one. We reviewed the budget ahead of time, the council did. The training center for fire, we were talking about the possibility of being a regional and all that, and Larry says they've picked those locations.
They haven't picked them all. What they did is they came out with a proposal.
Uh-huh.
And they just actually announced, the other day?
2 days ago.
Yeah, they were up in Plymouth. They had announced their first, I guess, units to go out, which there's like four departments up in that area.
Wabash was one, I think.
Yeah, Wabash.
Linton down in southern Indiana.
Right. Their initial proposal was to place a location in Miami County. I've talked with the state fire marshal's office about that because I was like, speaking for Cass County.
Yeah.
He told me that he accepted the application from me. I received a phone call, or an email on Wednesday of last week, that they would be reaching out to me with some more information, and they wanted updated contact info. So they do, if you look at the map, they've got the facilities all mapped out, but it's not a final on all of them yet.
But we'll just leave her in there for now, then.
Yeah, hopefully I can, when I have a meeting and we can get some land acquired. If we get, the state assistance, that's great. But I think even with that, that's a start. They're going to probably come in and put a little bit into it, but we can hopefully work. I've talked to the police chief, and we can have a joint facility there. So I threw in, I think, $200,000 at one time in my CIP. That was before we even started talking about the state getting involved. So first thing I do is get some land acquired, which sounds like it's a real possibility on that. So.
All right, anybody got any questions for?
Okay. Again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
Hey, we saved the best for last. Come on up.
What an introduction. So how do you follow that up? So.
Travis, do you have a copy of this thing from the other day?
Unless if it's changed, I don't, but if it has not changed, I do, Dave.
I think it's probably pretty much the same. I added a few things, but they're mostly in respect to Randy and his department coming over.
Yeah. Yep, that's the same one I have. Yes, sir. Where, do you want to go through the actual service supply budget and those type of things?
Yeah.
So. I'm just trying to figure out which ones are which. Okay. All right. I think I'm on the right page, Dave.
All right, you're going through the list first, is that what you're doing, Travis?
I am on where, I guess I'm looking at, I was just going down the list, I'm at where our patrolmen are at, perfs at, that type of thing right now. Dave, I'm trying to figure out where you're at.
going with the general, then that's the salary part. We can go through that first.
Okay, that's fine, that's where it's at, and that way I can just follow along, so. The only, like, where it says patrolman first class pay, Dave, achieved with 20 years, I think that should probably be worded a little different because of how our retirement works.
It should be what?
Worded differently. I don't want to get caught where it says achieved with 20 years. I think that may be worded different, and maybe Dwayne or Lorian can add to that, but.
Are you looking at this now?
I am. You said I was just.
All right.
I was just taking it from there to where we're at over here.
All right, so where are you looking at on that?
First-class patrolman pay, and it says achieved with 20 years of service. That, remember, I don't have to complete my 20th year. It's on my anniversary date. So I'd want to make sure that's worded correctly for that patrolman first-class pay, because that sets our retirement pay.
Well, when you finish your 19th year, you're at year 20. That's what I'm talking about.
Correct, yep. But then if you look over here in the patrolman years 21 through 25, that's where it starts that pay, not year 20. So that would mean I'd have to complete that 20th year in order to get that patrolman first class.
Okay, yeah.
See the.
We'll look at that, because I wasn't sure about that either.
Yeah, and I confirm.
Following him there?
Yeah, I get it.
So, just as an example for those who are not, if I'm hired January 1st of 2000, I can retire January 1st of 2020. I have my 20 years. I don't have to complete that year in order to retire. So we're based on a patrolman first class pay. So that pay can't start on our 21st year. That means I'd have to work an extra year if I had to get that, achieve that pay. I just want to make sure that wording was done correctly, Dave.
When you hit that 20, you've actually worked that 20th year.
Correct. We're calendar to calendar, yeah.
All right, we'll make sure, because I wanted to, one of the questions we had as we looked at this was, so do we have to budget for one even though there isn't one?
Correct,
And I
yeah.
said no, because as long as it's stipulated that this is when you reach that.
Yep.
It's kind of like the same thing with the.
Yep. Yeah, so I just want to make, if that goes through, that's done correctly. That way, somebody wants to retire at 20, they don't have to work 20 more, so, just in case.
Okay.
The only other issue I had, and I briefly talked to you about it as far as the assistant chief pay. And the more I look at that, I think his pay should be a set pay, and this is why. If you look on the side over here with the number of officers we have, if you take officers from year 15 or less, and that's going to total out more than half the department. So in the next 4 years, we're going to run into this more and more. Sean has 25 years of service with Logansport Police Department. I think I explained that. He had a break in service. So I just wanted to make sure, because you're going to have several officers in the near future that will make more than the assistant chief of police. And I'm talking lieutenant sergeants and possibly corporals, depending on where they fall at. So I would just ask that his would be that position would be a straight pay as well. And I'm only saying that because we are a young department, and you're going to see this happen probably next year, or the next 4 years, or even further down the road, where you're going to have an assistant chief possibly with 15 or less years on our department, given the numbers of what we currently have. You have, if my math's right, 10, 24 plus 8, over 30 officers in a 30-man department, 32 officers that'll have 15 years or less on the department. So that position could cause some interference again, where now you got an assistant chief and making way less than the majority of the department. So just throwing it out there.
We'll look at that.
Yes, sir. And then wherever we need to go to.
So does the rest of it does it make sense to you at all, or?
Ish.
So that's why I wanted to meet with you again.
Yeah, we're definitely, how you got to that, obviously, I'd like to see that formula just in case something happened. I guess I had a couple questions. One would be.
The scale,
The scale, how it works. One is like overtime pay. So our overtime pay, given this matrix, is going to be very difficult for whoever's in that payroll position, because it's going to bounce all over the place.
Well, you just need to.
Which is it?
Budget wisely and not have people in overtime position. That'll solve that.
Well, tell the citizens not to do things then, and then, yeah, we just get the straight pay. The other thing would be, let's say in a couple, I'm hypothetically speaking, right? So in a couple of years, let's say the longevity increases. How does that translate back into this mathematical equation?
Well, it's not really equation. I mean, you're just moving, basically, you're moving out of once,
Right.
You asked to be treated like the county, so we set this up similar to the counties. So in my mind, longevity is a thing of the past for you guys. It's built into your system, and it will increase
But our retirement, and correct me if I'm wrong, is based on salary and longevity. So we have to have it in there somewhere.
Well, it is. It's built into your system.
That's what I mean. Let's say next year, the pay raise is, the longevity increases to $300. How does that roll over for us at this point?
It'll be, the only way it would be reflected is in the salary itself.
Right. Well, that's why I don't understand how you did it. That's why I was asking. That was some of the questions that I had, that if the longevity would ever increase, how does that increase for our pay raises is what
You
I'm
just have to be reflected in the salary as you move forward.
Yep, that allows that. I know
That's the way I understood it as we set it up. I mean,
the other one I had, I saw was clothing allowance. I know we discussed it.
which one's that?
Clothing allowance.
Oh, yeah.
We're allotted $824, which gets split over 2 checks twice a year. And I was just looking on here, it's zeroed out. I had asked if we could just put that.
No, it's not zeroed
Oh,
out.
okay.
It should be it's under your lit line items.
Gotcha, sorry, I'm
Yeah,
tracking.
no, You should have 7,000 something, whatever it came to when we figured that
Yep,
out.
okay, I just looked up here and it says.
It's not in the general anymore.
Gotcha.
We moved it to the lit last year.
Yep, okay, tracking.
Does anybody have any questions for Travis on this stuff? Yeah, we went over, but it was pretty quick. Couple of things we talked about, Travis, on, and concerns that I have as we compared, and we've talked briefly about these others, is, when we talk about, being balanced with other departments, you have to take everything into account.
Sure.
And I mentioned to the council that if you retire from the county, you no longer have insurance, whereas you guys have insurance. Now, we don't plan to change that, but it is a fact. You can continue on from the age of 52, where there you can retire at 55 with no insurance. But that's a burden, a financial burden on the city for I don't know how long. Now, I know that there's a difference in the insurance currently between active and on their side and ours, but like I told the council, we pay out $250,000 a year in insurance for people in public safety on pensions. A couple of the other things I did mention to them, and I thank you again for all the give backs, the trading, the bartering, for lack of a better word. I thought we put this together pretty well, actually. But when you consider other things, the vacation allotment, we've talked about that. They max out at 5 weeks, and you guys can max out at 8 weeks and 2 days if you're an 8-hour employee. That's
Not
what.
8 weeks.
Huh?
Not 8 weeks.
336 hours.
It's not 8 weeks. It's 6. 6 times 7 of a work week's 42 days. It's 6 weeks, not 8.
Nope, this works 7 days. We've been down that road.
I know, but given how it was worded back then, it's 6 weeks, not 8.
Now, when you take it,
The ordinance.
let me ask you this, when you take it, how's it work out?
I 42 days on 8 hours and 28 on 12.
Yeah.
But it's not 8 weeks, it's 6. I didn't write the ordinance, though. That was written way back then, but yes.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Either way, and the comp time payout, you know, that's a concern of mine only because I went and looked up the numbers for how much of that we pay out at the end of the year. And it's been in the mid-40s the last 2 years, 40-some thousand. I'd like to, you know, is there a way we can hold that down in light of the amount of money we're investing in the police department going forward?
Yeah, we cap our comp time anyway, and then we use what's left in the salary budget to pay those out. So it's not an item that we budget for. It just happens that way because either overtime or like right now, I'm budgeted for X amount of officers. I have 36, so we use that a lot of money that is over to compensate the officers that have worked overtime. That's how we do it. So it doesn't. The money is there already. I mean, it's like giving, you know, if we're talking about, it's like giving $100,000 to the school. That money was on that salary there that we just didn't fill. So we've been doing that since, I've been here almost 19 years, and there's only been 1 or 2 years we've never done that.
Well, I guess the question, you know, in my mind was, Ed said that they don't do that. How do they get away with not doing it?
Because he pays them overtime. So it's one or the other. You either pay us overtime for everything, or you pay us comp time. And a lot of guys take it in comp time. So we can have one or the other, but because our overtime budget is budgeted to a certain amount, we don't, some of the officers take it as a comp time, and then they use it for days off, or at the end of the year, if there's a lot of money left over through our overtime budget or whatever, then we pay those officers back for that. So we don't use it as a pay or whatever, but they do it because they pay their officers that out of that overtime. And again, that's when you look at this matrix, that matrix when you look at overtime paying that out, is going to be quite different, almost per every officer compared to what it currently is. But that's another animal, but that's how we do it. You see, you're going to have to increase the overtime budget or basically leave it where it is and manage it that way. And that's what we've done for the last almost, I'd say probably 18 to 20 years, Dave.
I live long enough, I'll figure all that out.
I'll help you out some more. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions on the wage part of their budget?
Not on the wage.
All right. Let's go to the lit fund, Travis.
There we go, Dave. Is this my copy, Dave, that you gave me?
Yeah. And I will get with you so we can make sure. I wanted you to check with some people on some things so that the wording is right.
Correct, and I want to make sure our numbers are right too when we say 39, because when we say 39, that's included the 2 SROs, but I know the school gives us money for 2 of those too, so I want to make sure we're on the same page with the 2 officers, Officer Fry and Sergeant Nolte, that are at the school. When I did all the numbers at 39, just to give you a heads up, that may change the pay because of the school reimbursing for those 2. Does that make sense?
It'll make a difference in what they return to us.
Correct, yes. But I just want to make sure that that we got the same number,
Yeah.
so we can make sure that the officers across the board are in every position is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Just in case there's 1 or 2 that
Yep.
missed or whatever.
I would say, well, if you look at the top of the lit there, you see your clothing allowance,
Yes,
about 4 lines down.
I think I just saw it and I passed it. 7,800.
Yeah. And there's your overtime.
Let me go back to it. What page are you on, Dave?
That was at the bottom of 15 there.
Clothing allowance, yep, 78. Where do you have the overtime? I see it. Yep.
Go to the next page. I think everything's pretty much like we talked. Now, there may be a few that look a little different because we added some line items for code enforcement and others where you had a line item already, we might have just added that small total to it. Like if you look at your gasoline, you would put in gas, oil, and lube 90. We put 2,000 in there for Randy, so it says 92.
Gotcha, yep, I see it.
So you may see a few like that where you think, well, how did numbers change?
A couple, yeah, I think we discussed that as far as the, what they were gonna bring over instead of adding new lines.
Just to clarify, now, we were right on the conversion cars for police 15.
Yes, yep, and that could, that's one, I think that's an even balance. When I talk with Nate as far as repairing cars, we have to tear one out for like trade-ins and stuff like that, which we'll still be able to do this year. Depending on the CIP, I haven't got that far. I know the two vehicles for 80,000, that we're not gonna do this coming year. But I think we should be okay with that. If we wreck one, that's where we'll get into paying a little bit of that conversion out, so, yes, sir.
See anything on page 16 there that's out of the ordinary?
Nope, that looks good.
Lexi pole in there.
Got it. Postage, Dave, what did we talk about originally? I thought,
Where's it at, Travis?
it's on page 18, police postage. I was just seeing what Cassie had put down, since she does a lot of the mail, and I know that, okay, it's the same. I wasn't sure if you brought any over from Randy's office to add to that, just because they do a lot of mail, but I think I didn't know how much that was that he was bringing over, so that's what we requested, so that's fine.
He's got his own on the next page, Travis, on that one, postage for code enforcement, because he mails a lot of
You just
stuff.
could we just put it all, you want to put it all into one, or have two separate bills, Dwayne? I mean, mail's mail, I guess, is what I'm getting at, so,
Yeah, we just put it in there so we could track it easier
okay.
when we put it into the code.
Yep, no worries, I'm good with that.
I didn't know about, well, he's got a cell phone, I guess, because we gave him a separate phone line item.
And that's another one that I could add to ours, because we already have a running bill. All I have to do is turn one of the phones on that's been shut off. So, I mean, we can discuss that at a later time to absorb that and pay it.
What about Randy's computer? Did you guys discuss that?
Andy said he was taking, I don't know whether it's a computer or a laptop, but he
A
was taking
laptop?
something with him.
Okay, and then are you gonna have him under Spillman starting next year?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll go under it. He can log in at our computer. The only question I had, I know something came up about a vehicle with Randy, and we discussed our truck that we have. His concern was the size of the truck and getting it in and out of alleys and things of that nature. My only concern would be is I don't mind him using the truck, because then it's a multi-purpose vehicle, obviously. We can still pull the trailer and those type of things, and he can help out with the, like the parade routes and that stuff. But I need to get it decommissioned as far as getting it wrapped or painted where it doesn't say Logansport Police on it anymore. He can't technically drive that vehicle. It's marked with police equipment, so.
Said something about having to take all that off.
Correct, yep. So that may be something that we may have to look at to see what.
He's got a vehicle. I mean, I don't know that building commissioner, he's back there anymore. I don't know if he needs that vehicle. Does he need the vehicle? Do you need the vehicle that Randy currently drives? So, I mean, he's got options there, I guess. He could use the truck, which I thought we were gonna do. But
We can use mine. That's fine, and we can use that to trade it in or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that I had money budgeted in there at some point. We can discuss it, but to get the vehicle decommissioned from a police to put a city emblem on it, not police. We can leave the light bar on it, put amber lights in it, so he can still have that in case he has to stop in an alley or on the road for safety issues, which he doesn't have now, so, and he'll have a computer, we'll install one in there, Mayor, for him as well. Yes, sir.
Else in there you see, Travis, that
Nothing that's, Dave, did you have in there the radio and radar repairs, that we added that wording in there so we could?
well, let's check. I'm not
I
gonna say for sure.
didn't see it on there, so I wanted to make sure. I think that was the one,
There's one on 436.021.
Radio repairs.
Radio
18.
maintenance.
what page?
Radio
18.
repairs right above it at 420, or 436.20.
Towards the bottom.
Radio repairs, that's fire. Radio maintenance. This one was 4-1020-436.020, which is radio repairs.
Maintenance one, Travis.
Yep, I got it. So that one, I thought Cassie had talked to you, Dwayne, where we wanted that to say radios and radar repair because we paid that out of that, and there was some question about getting that,
The 021,
no, 20.
the 20,
Did say something.
Yeah, I budgeted for $2,500 on that one. Cassie had to put in there because it says radio, right now it says radio repair. She wanted to say radio/radar repair because that comes out of the same budget. And I think there was some holdup maybe about getting radars paid for out of that maintenance, so.
Travis, you probably told me, but what was the big increase in this subscription thing about?
They've all raised, like the subscriptions that we have to be a part of.
It went up like 9,000 or something.
Yeah, I'd have to go through the list. I can get it for you tomorrow, though, Dave.
I'm just curious.
I can't remember off the top of my head what it is now, honestly. I can't
In the
remember.
old days, I'd have thought you had a senior in high school selling magazines.
No, I think I can't remember what it is. I know some of our contractual stuff has went up, obviously, because of repairs and different things like that. So that was one, I'll ask.
You kind of look at that one. It just jumped out at me because it went up so much. It was 4,500 last year.
Yep, I'll find out tomorrow and have an answer for you. Asset reconstruction, food and lodging. In the CIP, I think that's it, Dave.
We had your vests and your cameras in there.
Where,
They're on the page 20 there.
Okay.
And then I wanted to check with you, because Dwayne and I went back and forth about this. We got 45,000 for your detective cars?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we had 65, and then I gave up 20 of it to add to that vehicle. And I think 45 will be able to get me I may be able to, like I've done before, where we traded in 2 to get 1, or traded in 3 and got 2. So I think we'll be able to do that, and that should outfit the rest of my detective fleet, and I should be good with that. And then in a year, not next year, the year after, 2025 would be to replace the road vehicles, so.
Now, and we talked about this at some point, are you gonna have a vehicle that Erin could take? I mean, she could even use it if you were gonna trade it in and it had certain value. She's got $7,000 allocated.
Sure, I can probably.
You got one that she could take over?
I think so, I'll make it work.
Okay.
Yeah,
You'll make her real happy.
Yeah, as long as I can get the trade-in value on it, what I'll do is I'll take one down there. If it's 4,000, then I'll just have her
Give
do
you a
it that way.
difference?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, perfect. Any questions for Travis?
I don't think so, Dave. I think I'm pretty good with that.
All right. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Travis.
Is this yours, Dave? You want that back, or?
That one, Oh,
budget, or just leave it here?
all right, I got one other. Kara, I seen you sitting out there. You want to come up? I got a question for you. You want to go through your non-reverting park for us?
For me?
Yes.
Oh.
I noticed you had a bunch of new programs in there. I thought maybe you could talk to us about them.
Sure. I haven't been able to see the budget of all, but gosh, I didn't know I was
What's-
going to figure out would have worn something cute.
It should be in there. It's, your non-reverting, you had some, well, there, you got help there with it.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Looked like you had some good stuff going on. I thought since you patiently waited out there all this time, you could share it with us.
I know. Well, I really want to just like understand the process, and so that's why I wanted to be here. So, I don't have any questions about anything, really. Jan and I went over it in the beginning, and I personally really like having everything spelled out. I'm pretty frugal, and I like to reuse stuff and save money wherever I can, and so also I like to find sponsorships. And so,
Yeah.
did you have any questions?
No, I did not. I just thought maybe you wanted to share something with us, because I mean, there was just a lot of interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm just trying to think. I'm sorry. I'm really tired. I didn't eat dinner yet.
Well, we won't put you on the spot then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're wrapping it up here. Anybody got anything for any comments?
This was shorter than last year.
Okay, well, it's 7:58. I'll call this finance meeting to a close.